Greetings everyone, my name is Brian, and this is PS4 Trophies. Now Outlast recently put out a patch 1.03, which did global rebalancing on the game difficulty. That includes normal all the way through insane difficulty. Now I did a complete insane walkthrough guide a couple weeks ago, and really some of the strategies in that will kill you now under the game's new rules. They changed encounters, added enemies in certain places, changed the location of them, in some cases removed enemies. So I'm going to do a 60-minute supercut where I'm just going to show you all the game's encounters. I'm going to cut out any area where you're just walking and talking and cutscenes and things like that. So this is just going to be a supercut of all of the areas where you can potentially die. Well, I'm going to cut out all the jumps. I think you guys don't need me to tell you how to jump. So first off, at the very beginning here, to the left of the helicopter, if there's some bandages. We want to pick those up. Those come in handy. If you at any point you become bleeding, you're going to have to heal yourself. Bleeding will ultimately lead to a death because you're not going to be able to run so fast, and people will catch up to you and kill you. So this section here, as you come around the corner, make sure that guy runs away. And then we're going to head to our first Marta encounter. This is relatively unchanged. Some people are reporting that she kind of disappears at a certain point. I don't know really what's going on. I just do this the same way I've always done this, even pre-patch, which is make sure you regenerate your entire stamina, and then lure her, make her chase you, and I'm going to go around the building and then around those barrels and then the other side of the building, and then run over here until we can crawl under the building and we'll be safe. So our next encounter, they actually changed this slightly. When you go into this next building, this is where you get the microphone tutorial, which, by the way, microphone use does not drain your camera battery anymore, so thank you for that. So what they did is they changed the location of a heretic that was on the other side of this door. He doesn't immediately chase you. Either they moved him or removed him from the game altogether. I'm not entirely sure. But relatively the same. Run around that corner there. Make sure it's wide enough that that second guy doesn't hit you. So a little minor change to that does make it a little easier. So after that, you're going to have a cutscene, and then you're going to reach this area where you got to swim. And we're going to go to the left side here. I don't think they changed anything here, but we're going to just sprint across here and then sprint to the right and then inside this building over here in front of us. And that'll take us to a school sequence, which won't kill you, so I'll just cut that out. Alright, so the cornfield. This is your first of two cornfields we're going to go through. Once you reach the hole in the fence, make sure your stamina is completely recharged. We want to be able to sprint through this entire section. So we're going to go right down the middle. As soon as we reach the center, we're going to turn to the right. There's going to be a ramp. We're going to run up and then climb over the fence. There's a heretic right there to the right, but if you're quick enough, he won't even see you. Now, as far as I'm aware, this section is relatively unchanged from before the patch. But here's how you do it. Of course, we're going to go inside, and then we're going to immediately go crawl underneath the truck just to the right, and then wait for the two enemies that are in this room to exit the building, which they will do if you're patient enough and just wait here. You're going to see the guy come from our right, around the truck to the left, and then he'll come back around and then out the front door. Maybe he'll go out the second door. There's two exits. He can do it either way. It's a little random. But either way, just be patient. As long as you stay here, we'll be fine. Now, there are a lot of changes they made to the encounters. Again, removed some enemies, moved them to a different location. But there is a couple cases where they didn't necessarily make it easier or harder, but they changed it. So following the strategies in my original Insane guide will get you killed. There is a section in the mines, the first encounter with the heretics, which is considerably more difficult. They added an enemy, and I don't entirely know why or what they were thinking there. It was already challenging enough. Alright, so they've both left the barn, so we're just going to crawl over here, and then we're going to stand up, push this crate, so we can climb up the broken ladder. Now, if you are doing a single battery run, you don't want to use your battery Basically, you want to get to the mines with half a battery, which means you're not really going to be able to use it until you get to the library. The library is where you got that maze. That's really well, that's not the first time we're going to use the battery, but that's where we're going to use it for the first time the most. So make sure you take your time crossing this beam. You fall, game's over. Of course, being insane difficulty, there are no checkpoints, so if you do die, you will start at the very beginning of the game again. Alright, so the next area you're going to come to, the next troublesome area, is where you got to turn on the generator to turn on the elevator. So in this little village, stay away from that woman there in the center. We're going to come over here. We're going to recharge our stamina. We have to make sure we can sprint past the house up the hill there straight ahead. Because there is an enemy that will walk out the front door, so if you're quick enough, he won't see you. There's the front door. Once you get over here, crawl under the wagon. Now just wait here patiently. There is going to be someone walking down the stairs. He will turn to the right. And as he's going around the wagon on the right side, we're going to exit out. And then we're going to go up the stairs. And then turn on the generator. Now, after you've pulled the chain here 3 times, don't immediately turn around and exit the door. There's a jump scare. She'll actually kill you if you get too close to her. So you got to let her just kind of walk to her final position, which will be right down these stairs. I know it is a little dark, and if you are doing a single battery run, make sure you turn up your contrast and brightness on your monitor. In the game, increase the gamma to max, and that'll help you see in the dark. Now, there are a lot of areas where it's just pitch dark, so if you're doing a single battery run, you're going to have to go through caves and tunnels in complete darkness, so having memorization of those sections will definitely help you. Alright, so this part, we're making sure we're going to get our stamina up. We're about to meet Marta once again. As soon as we hit this light shining through the window, she will trigger. Now, what we're going to do is get her to follow us and chase us up this hill. So I made sure she got a little bit up the hill before I started sprinting around and then down these stairs. If you do it too early, she'll actually cut you off at the bottom of the stairs. But keep sprinting. As you're entering this elevator, spam the square button, the interact button. You don't have much time there. Alright, so next up, you're going to go back into school, and we're going to start the chapel sub-chapter. The chapel, the end of it is actually, they made something a little easier for us, but relatively unchanged. I do think they increased or slowed the enemy run speed a little bit. I can't verify because I just sprint my ass off. So go through this door here. Make sure you don't go through the door on the left in this room. Avoid going through that door. You have to come down here and crawl. You're going to do a lot of crawling in this chapter. There is also, during this chase sequence, one major change that's post-patch that we have to come up with a new strategy for, and I think I got one for you. But we'll get to that in just a moment. And I'm not entirely sure why they changed the encounter the way they did. And that is actually coming up. So as soon as we climb out of this building. So here's a big change from pre-patch. This is new to patch 1.02. They moved the second guy's location. There used to be a guy at the bottom of the stairs. He is no longer there. He is now going to be in the room where you have to slide the bookcase open. So what we're going to do is let this guy bust through the door. Of course, you have to make sure you get under this bed quick. And he's pathing over to the left. We're going to crawl and crouch. And we're going to jump over the railing here. Again, there used to be a guy at the bottom of the stairs. He's no longer here. He's in the room that we need to exit. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out our camera microphone. You can hear him. He's behind that door. If you wait long enough in this area, he's actually going to come out this door, and we're going to kind of go around the center garbage here. He just busted out. He's going to come to the right, and now we're going to go to the left and go in through this door. And once we're in here, we're going to close it and lock it. If for some reason he's not coming out, and you might have to wait a little bit longer for him to come out, you might have to open that door and then just train him around the center of that previous room. But if you're patient enough, he should just walk out on his own. As soon as you start pushing that, sliding that open, he will start busting into that room. Alright, so next up, you're going to go up some stairs into a basement of a house. Go up these stairs, swing around the outside until you get to the door. If you're trying to use one battery, do not use a battery here. Take your time until you get to the door. However, once you get through this door, you're now in a chase again, so you're going to have to quickly go around the outside of this room here to get to these stairs. You are being chased, so make sure you're fast here. But it's relatively unchanged from before the patch, so you should know how to do it already. Alright, so once you're down here, you're going to have a guy behind you, most likely. His flashlight will help you see. The game's going to kind of autopilot you to the left and then curve you around back to the right. You can get caught on something, so make sure you're doing everything you can to stay in line. But generally, just pushing forward will most likely get you out of here. Just be careful. Now, once you crawl out of here, we need to crawl into that little opening, the window here in front of us. Once you go in here, don't turn to the left or turn to the right. Stay looking in the direction you are. You're going to have to interact and stomp 3 times. And then get down and crawl. If you actually walked forward a couple steps before you started smashing the ground, you would be automatically in the prone section the 3rd time. And we're going to go through this window here. And then we're going to make our way to the next Marta encounter. This is where we're going to have to deal with the wagons. So let's just get there. Now, here's a little tip. I didn't realize this initially. Someone told me. I don't know how true it is. I haven't tested it. When you're coming out this window here, if you actually go out backwards and then kind of slide off the roof, you won't become bleeding. But for some reason, if you just kind of walk off that roof, you bleed. And if you are bleeding, you got to make sure you heal yourself. At that point, you should have 2 bandages. Alright, so now we're going to go and do the next section here. Before we do, because we used the bandage, we're going to go pick up the one that's in here. Now this section, I don't think they changed anything. There's speculation that her pathing is different. In my testing here, I've seen nothing different. I don't know how much truth there is to that, if there is anything changed. But basically the same as I did in the previous Insane video, which is kind of winging it. You're going to have to do some improvisation here. Just because her pathing is random. It's always been random and continues to be. Alright, so now that she's blocked our path, I'm going to run counterclockwise around this area. This is generally how I always do this section. Now we're going to come through the hole in the fence, and she's going to bust through the fence in just a moment. Once she does, I'm going to go back through that hole I just crawled under. Sometimes you can have time to push the cart a little further. Usually you can't. So at this point now, what I'm going to try to do is get her to walk around the outside, the same path counterclockwise that I just made a moment ago. In order to do that, we need to get her to not see it, as she keeps spotting me. I'm going to make sure she's going through that open. You got to be careful here, because you may think she's going one way and then she'll just double back and turn around and get you. So don't completely sell out yet. Alright, so now I'm back in the corner. I'm leaning to the right so she can't see me, but I can see her. And now she is going to go away. So now I'm going to go and push the cart. Sometimes you can push this cart all the way to the gate. Oftentimes you can't, and that's going to be the case of what happens to me here. You'll hear her coming, you hear the music, you hear her voice. She's always going to be coming from that way, so we're going to go through the whole the the opening in the fence that she broke open and go counterclockwise. Now, if you get back to the cart area and the music dies down, you're good to go. You're going to be able to push the cart all the way. If for some reason she is right behind me, I'm going to go through the fence where she broke open and kind of go through the hole and try to lure her around again, just like I did earlier. In fact, we had so much time there, she didn't even grab our feet. Anyways, you're going to have to improvise a little bit there. But here's a big change that they made post-patch. Before the patch, this part was a bitch. You had to run out of this confessional and you basically get to a barn and slide open a door. And you had to slide open the door so precisely where it was open just wide enough that you can get through, but you didn't spend too much time opening it that the enemies got behind you and killed you. So they slowed them down here. So you have a much bigger window. You have about an extra second and a half maybe. In fact, you're going to see I'm going to grab the door, slide it open. I'm going to actually slide it open a little bit more than what I had to do in the first, before the patch, in my first video. Sliding it open this much before would have killed me. That's what I would have stopped, and I took it a little bit further just to show you that you have more time. In fact, they didn't even swipe at me as I was entering this room. So that was a very nice balancing change, thankfully, because it was stupid previously. Little jump here, make sure you make it. Alright, so we're going to go into the house here with the lady and the babies. There may be some bandages in the sink over there to the right, maybe not. But we're going to enter our second cornfield bit. As soon as we climb out this window, immediately just go to the left. Stay along the left side of the fence line. You're going to hear a bunch of the two guys. I think there's two guys in this area. I could be wrong. I'm not going to go and count them. But they're going to talk, and it's going to sound like they know where you're at. They don't. So don't panic. Don't do anything stupid. Now, at the end of this corn, there's going to be a big gap between the corn and the door we need to exit. At the corner, at the exit point of the corn, make sure there's no guy standing there. 9 times out of 10, he will not be. We should be clear. And at that case, we can just casually walk into the door of the next building. Now, if there is a guy, and it would be right here in that light, if there is a guy there, you're going to have to improvise a little bit. Go about 100 feet to the right and then try to sneak across the road and then sneak your way up to this door. If, for some reason, they completely spot you, try to get through this door. Try to lock it behind you. You're going to have to grab the crank. You're still going to have to deal with them. There's going to be 2 of them that come in here. You're going to have to play a little cat and mouse. Use the barrels to hide behind on the outside, on the back door. But hopefully you don't have to deal with that. As you can see, I got all the time in the world here. No one's going to be back here. Alright, so once we've opened this passageway, we're going to crawl through. And there is a slight change to the pathing of Marta in the next area. Again, another kind of change. I'm not entirely sure of why, but nonetheless, if you did the strategy of what I showed in my Outlast Insane guide before the full game, you'll die, unfortunately, as some commenters have mostly politely informed me of. Alright, so what we're going to do here is go trigger her. Once we're sure she's coming, I'm going to hide in the grass right back here. Kind of get far enough in the grass here, kind of close to the fence. Now I'm just going to wait here. Now she's going to come out. She's going to either go to our left or head straight off to the right side along the barn there. In this case, she's going to go to the right. Where she goes is based on your position. So if I was maybe a little further to the left, she would have gone to the left. In my previous video, I just hid around the corner of the barn over there to the right-hand side. If you do that, she'll see you. She'll kill you. So as soon as she walks past you, whether it was to the left or to the right, sprint. She'll start chasing you, but you'll be fine once you get through this opening. So go get the hook, and then go back through that same opening. Now we're fine. She's going to chase us in just a moment to where we have to apply the hook and pull the chain. So this is going to be a race. So I made sure my stamina was all built up so I can get to that location. Now she's right behind you. So as you're running up to this little gate thing here, start spamming your square button to insert the hook. Turn around, spam the square button as you're approaching the chain. Pull it twice. And there you go. Alright, so for those of you who are trying to do a single battery run, here's a good tip strategy for the school section here. After you've got the transparency and put the projector in place, you're going to go back to the center and go through some now unlocked doors here to the right. Now, in order to gain access into the exit room where you climb out of, you have to trigger the jump scare. But in order to trigger the jump scare, you have to have your camera your night vision on. So what I'm going to do is go to that exit sign 3 times. So I went to the exit sign once, ran all the way back to the other side. Now I'm running back to it a second time. Then I'm going to turn around, come back to the other door, and then I'm going to run back to this exit sign the 3rd time. Now, as I'm approaching it the 3rd time, I'm going to have my camera out and then just flash my night vision. I'm going to have it on for only 2 seconds. The jump scare will trigger and I will turn off the night vision. So this is a way to conserve your battery. You can see I have not used it. This is the very first time I've used it in the run. So that's a tip for you if you're trying to do a single battery run. It would suck to waste 30 seconds of battery there. So go ahead, now you can jump out of the school, and now we're in chapter 2, which is so much easier. But be careful here in the beginning. You got some logs you got to walk across. Just want to point that out. So don't fall off of those until you have to. The game will force you. Then we're going to continue on a bit, and you're going to drop down this little pathway here. It's going to get dark. You're going to see a note on the ground. So run just about 20 feet past that, crawl, and then turn to your right, and it'll lead you to this section here. This section is relatively unchanged. However, the most changes to the game's balancing are in Chapter 2. And it's actually, Chapter 2 is a lot easier now, thankfully. Still a couple really tricky parts. But overall, it's easier. Alright, so you got that guy. He's still going to try to scare you and vomit all over you. Now, just like before, as we reach the campfire, a guy is going to come running down this hill. I'm going to get him to chase me, and I'm going to run back to where I just got vomited on, and then run around the trees to get around him. I probably should have let him get closer to me, because he's going to take a swipe at me. And he only does that because I didn't let him get closer to me. But nonetheless, I come out unscathed. Just run past these guys. You're good to go. You're fine. Don't worry about them. You are being chased, so make sure you know the path. And as I mentioned in my previous video, you want to make sure you practice each of these chapters, each of the sub-chapters on Nightmare difficulty, where you can chapter select and have checkpoints. You want to practice each section numerous times. Alright, so now we got to deal with Nick and Laird. And once you get your glasses, don't go straight forward, because you can take some burn damage, or some damage of some sort. Instead, kind of go to the right of it. Maybe they patched that, I don't know. But here you're going to trigger Nick and Laird. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. Most people just go under that tent that's over there to the right-hand side where you see the blood trail. They go in there, and then they wait for Nick to walk this way into the corner, and then they kind of sneak out. I'm instead just going to lure him to my position and then sprint to the next section using this tree as cover. So whichever method you want to do. Now here's a small change. They removed one of the heretics here. One of the guys, he would usually grab you right about there. But they either moved him or removed him. I'm not entirely sure what. So tiny little change there. Definitely for the better. So you got to do another school sequence. Nothing's going to kill you, so let's go ahead and after the crucifixion here, after you removed, gotten yourself back to the ground, you have to go get bandages. And this part was actually a really kind of big pain in the ass pre-patch. Now, it's actually really easy. You have to kind of improvise a little bit. There was a lot going on. They completely removed one of the people. There's 3 campfires, one to the left, one right in front of us, and one to the right. We need to go to the right to climb up the hillside. They removed the guy that's pathing, that just kind of wanders off. In the campfire, that would be currently to our right. So this section, make sure you're crouched. Do not stand. Stay in the trees here. You got a guy sleeping in the ground right in front of us to the left there. If you stand, he'll stand and he'll kill you. So make sure you stay crouched. You don't have to crawl, just crouch. Get the bandages. Go ahead and heal yourself. So now I'm just going to, after I heal myself, crouch over to the tall grass that I just came through. And then you will see one person sitting on the log. You can either just crawl under the log if you'd like, or I'm just going to just sprint past them and go to the right-hand side. Go to around the fire on the right-hand side. So again, before you used to get over there, there used to be a guy. He would kind of meet you right over here. And then you would have to chase him. He would chase you, and then the second guy would join. This part was kind of a mess. So removing this one enemy makes it really easy. So there you go. I just got up, walked around, or sprinted to the right side of the camp there, and climbed up these rocks. Very easy now. I did it like 10 times in a row. Didn't even sweat. Alright, so we're going to continue onwards, continue the journey. No cuts here. Once you get to this section, it's very easy, but there's a guy with a flashlight right there. It's very easy to just kind of walk around him. Or sprint, don't walk. But he's not much of a threat, but he can kill you. Alright, so here's an interesting little tidbit. They changed this completely. Before, you used to have to hide in the grass here. Nick and Laird would come out, shoot an arrow at someone, and you'd have to follow them. They completely removed them. That entire interaction, those people that were at that gate over there to the left, all of it, gone. Not entirely sure why they did that. But what I will tell you is, if you came up this log pre-patch and then jumped down into this water too early, you would take an arrow as you were coming down into the water. So obviously that's what they were trying to avoid. So now you're just free to get to this log, get in the water. You do have to duck now. He is still over on the other side of this little pond. Now you'll have to stay down here. It's roughly 40 seconds maybe. You will see bubbles kind of come up, indicating that you're starting to run out of breath. After the second set of bubbles, you have maybe about 10 seconds before you die to the drowning. But conveniently, once the second set of bubbles pop up there, Nick kind of starts walking off. So you're good to go there. Just make sure you don't stay down too long. So that was an interesting change. Make sure you get those bandages. A very strange change there. They completely removed a lot of that aspect of that whole thing there. Alright, so now we're in the school.
What the fuck?
Now we have to be careful. Alright, so we need to... Well, we already went into that in the previous time we were in the school, interact with that computer. But we have to go down this hallway. Once you go down this hallway, you're going to hear the phone, and then it's going to try to lure you to that room with the phone. But there's going to be something chasing you. So what I'm going to do is back down this hallway so I have a straight shot to the end of this hall, and then I can turn left. This is how I do it in the dark. I listen for the sound, indicating the encounter started, sprinted straight, turn left, and we need to go down this hall. I'm going to go down by this locker because we'll go here in just a moment. So kind of backing into that hallway just makes it easier to orientate yourself if you're trying to do a single battery run. Because you can easily get turned around trying to trying to turn around in the dark. Alright, so go pick up the phone. And once you're done with the phone, exit the door. We're going to have to literally go right back to the end of the halls again where we just were. So turn left again. The demon thing is chasing us right now. He's behind us. All you need to do is get into this locker. And we have a fun section with Nick and Laird again. So as soon as you open this door to this room, you'll see an arrow's coming at your head. It misses you, thankfully. You grab the bandages and run out the back door. Now here's how I do it. I find it very easy and very repeatable. I'm going to sprint along the outside of this area to the right, being careful of the wire that's hanging between trees. And I'm going to look for this building. This building is right by the exit to this area. There's 2 doors with locks on it. Lock both of them. Very important to lock both of them. Now I'm going to stand by the window. As soon as I hear them bust in, I'm going to jump out. And then you should have no problem getting to this point. So that's the quickest and easiest way. Now here is where you're going to get arrows firing at you. You can try to go cover to cover. Try to lure him to fire an arrow. As soon as he fires an arrow, get to the next cover. I just sprint through this entire section. Making sure at this point that I recharge my stamina and then sprint out of here. You can take a couple hits, but if you're bleeding, you can make sure you bandage yourself and make sure you're hidden behind cover. So you can pick up the bandages there. Now you're going to get attacked. If you are bleeding at this point, do not bandage yourself. Do not heal yourself. That guy will kill you. So speaking of bleeding, here I am, but I'm just going to sprint over to the end. If need be, I could have hidden behind a rock to heal myself. Alright, slide into that trap, get buried alive, and then as soon as you dig yourself out of your own grave, you're going to have a little dark area, and you're going to have a little bunch of crawling things. There's about 4 of them in this area, I believe. 1 nearby. Now again, if you have your brightness, contrast, everything kind of turned up, your gamma set to max, you should be able to faintly see the outline of these things as you're running straight ahead here. There's going to be one off to the right. And I didn't see him, so there he is. He's an ankle biter. Now there's going to be 2 more kind of to the left as close to the exit. 1, 2. So, yeah. Alright, so the final kind of area in Chapter 2. Make sure you make this jump. It would be terrible if you missed it. Now this part was changed as well. They changed the pathing, not the pathing, more the speed, I think, of Nick. He doesn't walk as fast, so it really kind of changes the entire dynamic of this entire encounter. But just as I did it originally on my first Insane walkthrough, I just stay along this left side path to get to the rocks to climb up where we detach the rope. Now take note of that path I just took, because that's the exact same path I'm going to take getting out of here. You couldn't do that in the pre-patch. It would always get hit by an arrow. So this part is actually easier. But you will have to know that you're going to have to change your strategy. You can use the same strategy I used in my original video. It is a little bit more difficult, and you will run into, have to make a maneuver around 1 or 2 people. So, but this way is easier after the patch. Alright, so make sure you have your stamina up. And now I'm going to kind of go sprint over here. Start walking. Pick up the rope. Immediately, as soon as you pick up the rope, now sprint over around this building here in front of us. And now we're taking the exact same path back that we took up here. Not even stopping. Before we used to have to stop, wait for him to get behind that outhouse. You may have to run around someone right there at towards the end, but it shouldn't be too difficult. So yeah, I found that section to be much easier after the patch. Alright, so now you're in the school rooftops. Well, now we're exiting the rooftop, technically. Go through the door here at the bottom. we are going to have a little encounter with our demon looter Milch. As we're coming down, you'll see him right there. Go back up. Hop over this railing. He will now be on the stairs above you. There's actually not two of them. It's just the same one. He teleported himself. Then I dropped down. You could have actually just climbed back up and then run down the stairs. Alright, so find this hatch. Go down the stairs. He's going to be down here again. We're not going to be safe until we get to the cafeteria. So turn around. There's a door right in front of us. Open the door, step forward a couple feet, and then turn left, and then run to the end of the hall. You're being chased right now. So be very quick. Get to this ladder. I actually think they gave you a split-second extra time there, by the way. Just that's my gut feeling. If you need a bandage, there'll be one there. Probably. Now here's the cool thing about the patch notes is the microphone no longer uses batteries, so you don't have to do this part blind. You can use your microphone. Make sure you don't have your night vision on. As you see, my battery on the top right has lowered quite a bit. It's because Nick and Laird take a quarter of it. Those bastards. Alright, so here we're in the lake chapter. We're actually at the very end. I skipped the entire chapter, guys. It's boring. Nothing's going to kill you. You could experience fall damage. There's a couple of spots where you can die by falling. But after the raft breaks and you're in the water, sprint forward. Watch out for the guy that's on the right. You'll be taken into the pool. Now, you'd be very, very quick here. Get the demon. I'm using my night vision real quick to turn it on to orientate myself. Now, you can either run straight back, as I'm doing now, or turn to the right or left. But no matter which way you go, orientate yourself quickly, sprint, and then turn off your night vision if you're trying to use a single battery. As you're running, spam the X button, because you don't know where the edge of the pool is. Very important. That was the same pre-patch. Alright, so now we're in the school. And we're actually, this is a separate school section. There's a section in the Blood Rain chapter where there's no fear of death, so I skipped it. So very simple. You're going to come through this door here. Keep following it around. I probably could have cut some of this out now looking back. Alright, now we're going to have to go down the stairs. You have one chase. It's very simple. If you don't think you can turn around in time, you can walk down the hallway backwards, but there's light here, so there's no need for that. So we're going to go back up the stairs, go out this door to the right, and then just go clockwise, or counterclockwise, rather. Alright, so now we're going to be taken back outside with the Blood Rain. Again, this is kind of the second time you're in this Blood Rain area. First time I just completely cut out. But this is where the chapter gets difficult. So once inside of this building, there is a little crawly thing here. Once you crawl through here, normally there would be a checkpoint, but this is insane difficulty. There's no saves. This is going to trigger an encounter. There's going to be two of these things, one of which is going to bust into this door. Now I'm going to take my camcorder out, and I'm actually going to use a little juice here because sometimes I get turned around. But once this guy busts through the door, he's going to kind of bust through and end up 5 feet into the room. I'm going to use that time to just run behind him to the left and up the stairs. Now I'm flashing the night vision because I sometimes have difficulty finding this little opening here for some reason. If you have to use your night vision, again, if you're trying to do the single battery run, just don't use it. But if you have to use it, just flick it on and off. Don't leave it constantly on. So this part is more about knowing the path. Again, if you're trying to do this on insane difficulty, you're probably very familiar with it. And the last thing we need to do is move this thing over here, blocking the exit. Now we're going to go into the school again and deal with the library. You guys know all about that, I'm sure. Here's where you're going to have to use a lot of juice of your battery. We're going to try to use as little as possible, though. So we're going to trigger the guy in front of us, the demon thing, and then I'm going to go down the last row of bookcases here, and then I'm just going to kind of weave my way around. Flashing my battery the entire time. And then we're going to get to the exit point right here. But we're going to have the demon right there. He's going to spawn in front of us. So right here is a bookcase that I can just loop him around. So I'm going to wait for him to follow me here on the right, and then run around it to the left, and then sprint right back to the exit point. Real easy. As you can see, I didn't use much battery. Just a couple bars, few bars. But we're not done yet. You're going to climb over a stack of books here into this new area. Now, if you're short on bandages, there'll be one in this room. Of course, that initiates a jump scare if you come in here. If you don't need it, then just come down this hallway, and we're gonna have another chase. This one's easy, but it can be tricky because you can accidentally get caught on like a table, a stack of books or something. So what I'm gonna do is get to right here, recharge my stamina, very important, and then kind of go backwards again. Only because you don't have a lot of time. He's right on your ass. So we're going to follow her. Make sure you don't get caught up on the table there or anything. And that'll do it for the school section. But we're going to continue rolling this video here because this is a lot of things can kill you in consecutive encounters here. Alright, so this section, it's really easy. I'm only showing this just to let you know that you can die here if you're too slow. So don't be too slow. I think you're actually safe at this point. Alright, so dark area, go down the stairs, crouch to the left, and you'll be able to get out of there if you're trying to save battery. So this section, you hear a bunch of people around you, but at some point they do drop down into this area. I've not actually seen it. I just know it happens. But it is really easy. I mean, you have plenty of time. You can go get the battery, and there's a note on the other side if you're trying to get the collectibles. Alright, so push this cart, and then we're going to jump over, and then we have a big chase sequence. Now, I can't stress this enough. You have to get through this next chase sequence without taking any damage. You can't be bleeding. You can get to the end of this and completely get out of this while in the bleeding state, but you'll die in the next section. So we have to make sure we complete this entire run, this section here, without bleeding. And the most difficult part here is once you get upstairs here, and you have to go walk across two beams here. One here, and then the next one. And this is a chase, so your heart's racing, and you have a tendency to try to just speed through it too quickly, and that's what causes people to fall. It's easy, but it causes people to fall just because you're being chased. So be very careful there. And once you drop down here, we're back in the school, and this is the hardest school section in the game. Very, very difficult. Immediately, you're going to have to turn around, exit the hall to the right, left, and then we're going to straight down, follow this to a bathroom. Once we get in that bathroom, we're going to go to the last stall on the left-hand side, and we're going to spam the square button as we're approaching that stall. And then as we're entering the stall, make sure you entered it first. Spam the square button here. As we're entering it, spam the close button. You got to be very quick there, guys. You have very little room for error. Now, I do suspect they increased the window there a little bit. I think you might actually get an extra second or so. Not much, but you still have to be quick. Alright, so I hang down there in that stall for about 10 seconds before I start crawling this way. Now what I'm going to do is go to the second stall. Then I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to wait for him to finish singing his little song, and the lights will turn on. Now, it's very important that you're going to want to have your camera out. They're not going to use it right away. So you don't actually have to take it out just yet, I suppose. All right, so once he's done, the lights turn on. I'm going to open the door, quickly run straight out. Run back the way we came. Spam the square button as you're approaching that door, guys. Make sure you're spamming the open door button as you're approaching the doors in this area. Especially this area. Throughout the game, but especially here. Alright, so we're back up where we started. Spam the open button. Flash the camera light here. You can get caught on that trash can very easily if you're not careful. Spam the open button. Go right. He's still right on your ass. He's probably 3 steps behind you, but once you enter this door, you're safe. Alright, so next up in our 60-minute supercut is the section where you push this little thing and you're going to drop down. It's a very simple chase sequence, but the biggest thing to note here is you have to turn around before you can run away. So turn around before you run away. And now it's relatively simple. You're just going to do some crawling a little bit here. You should know the path if you've done this a few times. Nothing too difficult. But this is going to lead us into a more difficult chase sequence. And one in which you can fail very easily if you're not aware. And that's going to be right up here. First, let's lock this hatch. And if you need bandages, there should be 2 of them over here to the right-hand side. Now, you're going to interact with this handle. Unfortunately, the only thing that's going to come are enemies. So as soon as you interact with it, walk this way towards the door over here to the right. As soon as that thing crashes through, sprint. And do not stop sprinting. Sprint the entire time. Sprint your ass off. You're going to start becoming exhausted at a certain point. Doesn't matter. Keep sprinting. So you're good here. And basically what we're doing is we're training the heretics or whatever those creatures are to us, and we're kind of looping them around so we can get back into the elevator. But this entire time you got to make sure you're sprinting. If you stop for a moment, you can die. If you stop to try to recharge your stamina, you're gonna die. You can see the screen's flashing here, blinking. It's only gonna get worse. You got to keep sprinting. And even right here, you have one guy to your left, 2 guys over to your right. One there, and then one by the elevator. The only way to get through that part is by not stopping. Making sure you're continually sprinting. Alright guys, we're in the mines. This is a massive, major change in this first encounter with the heretic. So what we did before is we lured the one heretic, the second one that you actually see, to the crack in the wall. We got into the crack, he pulled us out, and then we just sprinted around him. Well, unfortunately, there's a 3rd enemy now, so if you get out of that crack when he pulls you out and then you sprint, the 3rd enemy is going to kill you. So we need to take care of 3 heretics here. So first, unlock this door, open it. I'm just going to peek, lean to the left, and you're going to see a guy drop down in the path there. This is the main path. So I'm just going to stay here. He's going to walk away into a door on the left. Simple. That's very easy. Now I'm going to exit this, and I'm going to open up the 2nd door just past the crack here. That's the crack. And then just past that, right before this lit opening, is another door. We're just going to open that for now. That's it. Now, the same as before, what I'm going to do is grab the heretic. I'm going to run to the crack and have him pull me out just like before. But we have to deal with the 2nd guy. And I don't know why this works, but it works. So what we're going to do is he's going to be up ahead. I'm going to make sure I'm completely full on my stamina here. So he's going to pull me out of the crack. I'm going to actually run into that room where that door I opened and then run back to the crack. Alright, so he's chasing me. This is the first chase. This is crack run number 1. You're going to see the light shining out of the crack, so it's really easy. There's a torch in there, so you'll know the crack. He pulls me out. Now I'm going to sprint into that room over here to the right. And I'm going to close the door. I don't actually think I need to. Or maybe you do. Alright, so now I'm going to open the door. He's going to be standing to my right. And I'm going to run back to the crack again. And he's going to pull me out. Now I'm going to run just as I did before. Now the path is clear. The reason why the path is clear, when I went into that side room between the two crack runs, the heretic that would have been further down this path respawns, kind of spawns in that room. You're safe if you stay by the door. If you move too far into that room, he would have gotten you. All right, this part, very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. You have to, as soon as this sequence ends, boulders are going to drop on from the ceiling, and a chase sequence initiates, and you have no room for error here. You have to make a clean run. It sucks. It's killed me more than once.
Burn this world.
Where's Lynn?
It's actually easier if you're doing it. If you're doing it through chapter select, it's actually harder. It's easier if you kind of come into this and get to experience the entire cutscene. The chapter select actually takes you right after the cutscene, so you have an advantage here. It's a little easier than doing it through chapter select, but the second you're able to sprint just as fast as you can. Do not get caught up on anything. Do not get tripped up on a rock. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a path to the right eventually. We're going to go straight, and then we're going to have to turn right. It's dark. I'm going to flicker the camera light on and off. And then we have to find a path that kind of goes to the left. So here we go. We're facing the right way. And I got a little caught up there. That's terrible, by the way. Anyway, take this path here. It gets dark, so flick on your light. Find the left turn. Then you got to turn right at the end of that passageway, and then you get to this little kind of caved-in area, and you're going to have to squeeze through this passageway. So guys, that's not an easy encounter, unfortunately. I think it's a little cheap, and I would like that to actually be patched, but it wasn't. Speaking of patch, and they changed this just a little bit. When you're down here, when you got to hit the two switches, the encounter for our purposes is almost identical. They actually just removed one of the boards, one of the kind of the walls, the barricade walls, in the next room where the second switch is. And I don't know why they did that. Alright, so I'm by the first switch. And I'm underwater, and I'm waiting for Val to just pass past me. Once she does, or he does, hit the switch. Turn around. Now we're going to go to the second room. We're going to make sure we don't knock our head on this lamp here. There's not a lot of light in this game, and no reason to bust what little light is there. But here's the wall. It used to be right there in front of us. So we can go to around the wall this way to get to the switch. Before we had to go the other way. I have no idea how this affects things, but I think maybe they just forgot to put it back. Alright, so now that we hit both switches, we can go to our exit point where the electricity was. But first, you're going to have to wait for him to get out of this room. So just stay as he's approaching. Get underwater. And now you're clear. You might have to flick your battery here just to find the exit. Well, there we go. I used a little bit more juice than I would have liked. And make sure you make that jump. Oh, that would suck if you miss that one. Alright, so here is the next mine cart area. And we're going to go down this ladder. Now, finding the exit point of this in the dark's a little tricky, so hopefully you have some familiarity with it. If you're standing and looking at the ladder, it's going to be to the left-hand side. I get kind of a little tangled up here. there's a kind of a little half barricade that separates that room too. So if you go to the left and then there's an exit point and then you kind of face to the right, you'll see this. Now here is a chase sequence. Very important. This is where we're going to use, this is what we're saving our battery for the most. This the next minute here. Use as much of the battery as you have to. Try to keep yourself 2 bars at least by the end. But you have a very tight crawling area here. It's very easy to just get caught up on something, get snagged on something. If you get caught up for just a couple seconds, game over. So you got to keep moving. You see I'm just kind of flashing the battery, the camera light here. He's coming from the left-hand side, but you got to make a right turn and then another right turn across these beams. Now this next part's also difficult. We're going to crash into a cave here. Turn off the camera. Night vision, locate the light out in the distance and run straight towards it. So as soon as you drop into this underwater caved area, identify the light source and sprint directly towards it. Flick on your camera light on and off just to make sure you don't get caught up in anything that's sticking out of the water. But if you don't go directly to this point quickly, you'll become exhausted, and if you're exhausted right here, game over. So you have to make sure you take a direct path to the light as soon as you drop into the water. Flash on, make sure you don't get caught up in anything sticking out of the ground. And there are 2 heretics in there. They should be able to you should be able to beat them though if you're quick enough and get in your direction. Alright, so after the sequence with Father Loudermilch here, you have to escape the mines. This is the final. This is really the last hard bit of the game, by the way. Flash your camera. I have enough battery just to keep it on. Stay along the right here. I got a little caught up here. Once you reach this point where you drop down, you're safe. So you really only need 1 or even 2 bars of battery life. Now, if you're going for your camera 1 battery trophy, once your battery's at 2 bars, you have a reload option on your screen. It's very tempting just to hit it because that thing flashes up on the screen. It's like a quick time event. Do not hit that. It would really suck if you made it this far and you accidentally hit reload because it said to do that on the screen. I just wanted to take a moment here and kind of point that out to you guys. And now, our final section of the game, guys. This is the last thing you need to deal with. This is the last Marta instance. We're going to lay Lynn down on the bed. Marta is going to appear down the hallway just in front of us. We're going to pick Lynn back up and make an escape. So here's how I do it. As soon as I see Marta and we pick up Lynn, I'm going to turn to the right, but I'm not going to sprint. I'm just going to kind of walk. I'm going to make sure she's coming my way and doesn't take a shortcut. So I'm just kind of hesitating there a little bit. Don't go through that first door on the left. Head down this path here, the final one on the left. There's going to be a cave in right in front of us. I'm going to loop around to the left and then loop around to the right. If you pick up Lynn and you sprint off too quickly, Marta can actually change her direction and actually come up another path and get you. So you got to just kind of hesitate just a little bit there at the very beginning, and then you can sprint off to this point. Not the end of the game, but it's really the last thing that can kill you. I don't know if the fire in the forest or anything can kill you, but come on, guys, you shouldn't get killed by any of that. We're at about the 60-minute mark, guys. I hope you enjoyed this supercut speed run of Outlast 2. I hope you guys get your trophies. I hope you guys enjoyed the patch. It did make things a little easier for the most part. See you soon.